He's more Indian than I am at this point of time because he really enjoys things more about India than I do. He enjoys the loud traffic. He enjoys, also just walking around, just aimlessly, in different places, exploring different places, eating Indian food. Also, I do feel like he has a higher spice tolerance level than I do. Like, I'm always complaining, oh my God, it's so spicy, it's so spicy. And he's like,
I'm not.
it's good. He just eats it.
Welcome to International Love Story, the podcast about intercultural relationships. My name is Christina, and in today's podcast episode, I would like to welcome Jhinuk and Vlad. Jhinuk is from India, and Vlad is from Romania, and they both met due to her passion, and their passion is dancing. They met a couple of years ago. They started off as friends, but then slowly but little it was evolving from there on. I am so excited to meet you in today's podcast episode to learn a little bit more about you guys, about the details of how you met. And with this being said, let's give a warm welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? Tell us all about you.
Thanks, Christina, firstly for approaching us and for, offering us this platform to be able to share our story and everything about us. So thank you. And we're very happy to meet you. I'm Jhinuk, and
Yeah, I'm Vlad.
yes, and we are obviously dancers because that's one of our biggest passions. That's one of the reasons why we got together. And also we are married, and we're very happy to share our story and our journey so far with everyone here.
So going back to your journey, as mentioned before, you share a passion. And yeah, obviously I would like to learn a bit more about that, where it all started. How was it the first time you guys met a couple of years ago? When was it and how did it feel like?
So, okay, I am very bad with dates. This is like a precursor. I'm very bad with dates and months and timelines. And
You can just leave a gap there. We met in, and you would switch to me.
yes,
I'll confirm
he's
the timeline.
he's the one with
I'm the calendar.
yes, the numbers and the details and stuff like that. But we did meet in Mumbai. Actually, we met through a common friend. I had a friend and acquaintance that, introduced Vlad to me because Vlad was traveling to India and, he was curious about the dance sport and the Latin American ballroom dance, scene in India, in Mumbai. And he found out about me through the friend that I knew. And she actually introduced the two of us. At that time, they were actually together. He was, with that acquaintance that I knew. And he was visiting because he wanted to find out more about India. But when he got to India, things were really different because, India is so different than Romania and Europe. And when he came to Mumbai, it was like a big shock.
Like a culture shock.
Culture for him because he lived in Mumbai for a while. We actually did meet online first, me and Vlad, because that was our first interaction together. Because, we just wanted to find out who he is and how I am. And I was at that moment in Mumbai.
Yeah, you were.
But he was in Romania. So he still hadn't come to India. But we were just planning some workshop that we wanted to organize for all the students in India and for the dance community there. So we were planning all those things, and it was just mainly work related. After that, when he came to India, he actually first met my mom, and I was in Russia at that point of time because I went to train and to travel and to compete in Russia. So he met my mom before he met me.
Yeah.
And that was the first relation that he, had with anything to do with me or my family or any interaction that he had. And they planned the workshop together, and he had the workshop in my dance studio in Mumbai. And then later on, I came back to Mumbai, and that's where we met for the first time. We just went for coffee to again speak about something work related. And since he was already, with that friend of mine, it was just plainly just for work. It was nothing really related to, us really having any sort of other feelings with each other. But he was really fun. I must say that we clicked as friends and we really hit it off as friends immediately. But there was nothing there at that point of time. And later on, as he continued his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, things started getting really bad in his relationship. But I think he should take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually what I wanted to add is the fact that before she came to India, like while she was in Russia and I had already come to India, we did communicate a lot online. We spoke on calls. I was also curious to like hear about her experience in Russia because I did want to know like more about like how does it feel for someone from, because I also had never met anyone from India who did this dance style. Even though there are so many, Indians, no one was there in the dance sport community that was from India. Like it was a bit of an unknown territory for me. And for that person to go out to Russia, which is like so heavy in the dance sport scene, like it was a very interesting scenario for me that I wanted to find out more about. And of course, we also like coordinated regarding the workshop, and we had already like kind of like started thinking about, okay, when she'll come back from Russia, how will we take this forward? Like we didn't want it to just like end it like, okay, I did one workshop and then finish. So we did explore a bit these possibilities that, okay, now what other ideas do we have? So once she came already back from Russia, which was, I think, a good 2 to 3 months of me being in India already, we were already quite acquainted with each other before we met. So when we met, we kind of like, everything felt very natural and very like, okay, we're just like taking it from here. Like we already know each other. And yeah, so then after that, we were like thinking, okay, now what else should we do? How should we, because she came back with very, big sparkly eyes from Russia that, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I want to make dance sport grow like this in India. And I want to teach kids and I want to, bring all that information from outside into the country. And I was already there and I already had the like outside information. So we started thinking that, okay, let's do some videos, some basically like kind of like promotion material for this dance style, because people are very unaware in India of what exactly is Latin American ballroom dancing. So she thought that, okay, maybe we should do kind of like an urban Latin combination project to, again, be able to have more promotion material, to make it more accessible for people through some other thing that they're more familiar with. Then after that, we did one more video shoot, which we kind of like made it a bit more complex and more professional on a beach in India. So, and that actually I feel is like kind of like the period where we started getting more, again, I wouldn't say closer in that sense, but we were getting more and more comfortable with each other and more aware of how the other person is as a person. And of course, throughout this period, like my relationship with that common friend of ours started deteriorating again, and nothing to do with what was going on between the two of us. It was just like, there was a lot of stuff going on with me going to India. Like, again, as Jhinuk mentioned, it was a very big culture shock for me. And it was kind of like, I'll say in a sense, on my own there, like kind of like, okay, now you figure out your own stuff. And like, I felt very lost and very confused. And also the feedback from the, how to say, crowd in India regarding this style was not really the one that I thought will happen. Like, it was not as good as I expected it to be, because of course everyone was saying that, oh, Indians love to dance and they love music and they love this and that and blah, blah, blah. And they always dance and they always sing just like in the movies. And then I thought that, okay, like, and there are so many kids also, so a very good combination for building a strong base of future competitive dancers, right? But honestly, the reality was not such. People were not that open to learning this style as much as I thought. Like, everyone mostly just wants to do Bollywood. Some other styles are gaining momentum, like salsa bachata, like more social dancing, but not really that much in the terms of competitions, because you do need competitions to be able to prepare for competitions. And there are no competitions as of such in India. So it's very difficult to encourage people to do this as a sport. So yeah, we were kind of like both of us feeling that the response from the crowd is not really the one that we were hoping it will be. And this was kind of like, I feel like, our common struggle that kind of like brought us even closer together.
Yeah, like for sure. I feel that we, definitely were trying to popularize this, but it's difficult for a lot of people because there is a lot of dancing in India, but because there is already so many other styles of dancing, to introduce a new style is like different and difficult, especially because the culture is not very similar to that of ballroom dancing or like, international dance sport. And also, like Vlad said, that there aren't many competitions. There isn't much opportunity for them to be able to actually showcase what they learn in the setting that they have available to them, because there aren't those many people who do it. So the community is really small. And in order to expand it, it's difficult because it's expensive. The sport, it's not cheap to do ballroom dancing and to learn how to do ballroom dancing. And at the same time, to perform ballroom dancing in a ballroom, you need to have all these, things available, but it's not really there. So we are trying to grow that, but that time it wasn't there. But then we still, anyway, went on and, continue with our projects. And in the meanwhile, like, I think broke off with his ex-girlfriend. And then, we were like, he was very sad. He was really sad and he was very lonely and he was very, upset. And I felt that as a friend, it would be like unfair for me to just leave him and, just say that like, okay, now, you're on your own. So then, I did start involving him more in all the projects that we had. And we started doing more things together. I started also, introducing him to my other friends, because it was also not just about the dance anymore. It was about him just feeling happier. And then all my friends were his friends. And then he started hanging out with, everyone. So he felt better. And that's when we kind of also started realizing that he actually told me that he had like a little crush on me, a dancer's crush. That's what he told me for the first time. And
But at that point, you already like had decided that you're gonna go back to Russia.
yes. And at that point, I already was going back to Russia, and I am not a person who goes into long distance relationships because it does not work for me. In my opinion, I'm just like, I need to have the person present with me because it's too difficult to be away, and it's too much of, for me, it's too much like to have someone away and then, have it for a longer period of time. Of course, for some time it's okay, but like for an extended period of time,
Like,
I think I was going there for a year or maybe two because I planned to go there to study. So, I was like, now what are we going to do?
so you were saying that at that point, again, the plans changed, but at that point you were saying that, oh, I'm gonna do one language preparatory
Right.
course, which would have been 1 year, and then you were saying that you would have maybe wanted to join that school.
Yes.
That gives you that
So
certificate.
basically,
Is another 4.
yeah, I wanted to like do also some training in dancing. And that's why I wanted to do a school for that. And it would be an extended period of time. But, I didn't want Vlad to not be there if we are going to be in a relationship. So then I kind of told Vlad that, hey, why don't you come along with me? And why don't we both go and train in Russia? Because he was very curious anyway of like what Russia is like and, what the training and dancing there is. And that's when we kind of did our first move from Mumbai to Moscow. So that's when we kind of moved for the first time together. And that's when we decided that, okay, now we can be in a relationship also, because at least we have a plan and at least, we will be together somehow. So, yeah.
There was also, sorry, I just wanted to say this as a side note, that there was a period, maybe like a month, that we had already like confessed towards each other of liking each other and wanting to be together. But because of this scenario of her going to Russia, me wanting to stay back in India and trying to do something worthwhile, we were kind of like fighting this whole like, no, but we cannot be together. So let's try to suppress somehow our feelings towards each other because it's just going to make us suffer otherwise. But we were not able to. So we still ended up being together before she left for Russia.
Yeah, it was inevitable.
How long was the period of time between like realizing you to have feelings for her and then actually being like, okay, like just try it. Let's just try it. We're gonna go to Russia together and we are official couple. Like for how long did you try to ignore your feelings?
I would say it was a bit of a like gradual, I feel, realization of our feelings. Because we did want for a very like long period of time to just think of each other as friends.
Yeah, we didn't want to like, kind of, because the beginning was just like, he was already in a relationship and I obviously not, going to try to like sabotage someone's relationship. And, I always tried to kind of push it towards the direction that he's actually still maintaining that relationship with the acquaintance of mine. Because I didn't want to do that, right? Like he came all the way there and, I knew that he is someone who's a very emotional person and I, wanted him to just be happy and I knew that it would be better for them to still stay together. So I just tried. But then later I started realizing that for his personal well-being, it's not the best for him to continue the relationship. So then I stopped forcing him to be with her so much. And then I kind of, just took a back seat. But then when I took a back seat, of course, we still met and we were still, doing things, but we still didn't have that many feelings for each other when we were working together. It is only once he kind of, started telling me that I was really sad, I was really upset, I was very depressed. That's when, we kind of started being a little bit more open to accessing that other idea that like, actually, why do I like him so much? Like, why am I so concerned about his well-being? Like, why do I care so much about someone just like that? So that's when it started kind of feeling like, okay, maybe there is something more than just friendship.
Yeah. But again, sorry, we haven't really answered the question. So I'll say probably maybe like like we realized how we feel towards each other. And then I'll say maybe like in like the time of 2 months, we reached to that point that we actually like confessed how we feel. And then for another 1 month, we kind of fought the whole scenario that no, we shouldn't do it, even though we feel how we feel. And then we kind of like gave into it. And then after deciding that, okay, we'll be together, then in 1 month, she left for Russia.
Yeah. And then after 1 month, he came to Russia.
Yeah.
So basically it was like a period of like 5 or 6 months in all that we kind of finally had the full move that, okay, now he's coming to Russia and we are together and it's kind of, that's what it is. Yeah.
How was Russia? Like for you guys, like being as a couple, as I mentioned, you do share a passion, which is taking over a big part of our lives. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then you kind of went to Russia together. Like, how did it feel? Because on the one hand, you've been to Russia already before alone. And then with your partner, I mean, you can compare the difference. And also, like, I have so many questions, the cultural differences and all of this. I would like to learn a little bit more about this.
So the first time I went to Russia, I was very excited. And just like how I am as a person, I'm really always excited about things. And I always look at the positive sides most of the times, when I go. But Vlad's he's pretty practical in his approach. He's very much like, he says things for how they are. So he's very blunt. And then he kind of, also like did influence me a little bit in, how I saw things. But first things first is that it was cold. And that winter that we had in Russia and Moscow was pretty cold. Like that was a very cold one for me. And because when we went to Moscow, I cannot say that we fully experienced it how we would have liked to. how I did in my previous trip, because this time when we went to Moscow, it just was COVID. Within the first 3 months, it was COVID and everything was in a lockdown, and it was difficult for us to be in Moscow during COVID, especially as an international, expat, like, who's there, because all the visa situations changed and we had a lot of problems with understanding where to travel, how to travel, what's happening. The embassies were like shut. We used to keep going to either the, Indian embassy or like the Romanian embassy, or we used to go sometimes to the Russian office to be able to understand, the Department of Immigration in Russia. Like we used to go to understand what are the new updates with COVID, because everything was so it was not the best when we went to Moscow this time, because COVID just changed everything, so it was not ideal.
Were you living together in an apartment in Moscow?
We actually were not, because she was living in her school dorm. I was living in another dorm close by. Like I chose one that was conveniently with walking distance to be able to like be close to her and everything. And honestly, that was not the only reason. I also, before going to Russia, like she had a few, I'll say, unpleasant experiences. So I didn't really feel comfortable regarding her safety alone. So I did want to be as close as possible to like walk her to the metro, walk her home, walk her to the shop. Like I always wanted to like not let her be alone. And after that, I came in mid-February of 2020. So it was like not even like maybe like 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the COVID situation. So once the COVID situation started, we were still living separately. But then in her dorm, on not her floor, but another floor, someone was diagnosed with COVID, and then they quarantined that whole floor. And we were like, oh, what if this happened? What if someone on your floor gets quarantined and then gets COVID, and then your whole floor gets quarantined and we cannot meet anymore? So we were like, okay, now what should we do? And then everything in Moscow was becoming very bad. So we quickly decided that, okay, let's look for an Airbnb somewhere outside of Moscow in the suburbs. So we quickly found a place that was like kind of like a small town next to Moscow. And we moved there together for
Karali.
Yeah.
And we booked a very small B&B there, and we decided to just like stay there till all these things are slightly more clear, because anyway school was online now. Like everything was moved to,
the dance studio was shut.
Online. Dance studio was not operational. Even dance classes were online. So everything became virtual. So then we were like, let's just, go somewhere quiet, because it was like a very small town.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was really small, but it was very cute. And we are so happy that we went there and, spent like our COVID period there. Because it was nice.
Yeah, actually, that was like those 3 months that we lived there before moving back to Moscow. Once things started opening up, was probably the most pleasant period that we had in Russia.
Yeah.
I just find it very interesting, because obviously you did plan everything in a different way, and taking into consideration that you just started dating and then you have to deal with different obstacles. And not only did you go to Russia and had to adjust to a different culture, a different country, you also had to adjust to the fact that there are specific things happening around you don't have any influence on. And then you are, in a new relationship, everything is fresh, and different culture impacting your relationship as well. And I think that was quite an interesting phase of your life, I guess, right? And in perspective,
a little crazy with everything happening so fast, and just like things just going without us having any control over it. But I think it was like one of the most difficult things that we have had to do to be able to navigate through COVID and through that entire period together. And it really like showcases that, we stuck around.
Yeah.
We did. because it was easy. The reason why we wanted to continue staying together is because we didn't want to kind of separate, and like I said, I'm not really big into long distance relationships. And it would have most likely been a long distance had we just decided to, go our separate ways, and we didn't want to yet just give up on something that we took so long to decide to like start. And then we were like, okay, let's do this somehow. But yeah, it was crazy.
Like the best out of it. The first three months, you've mentioned you lived a little bit outside of Moscow together, and that was the best 3 months there. And then when you went back to Moscow, I guess everything was different again. How did it feel, you guys living together for a period of time after starting to date when it comes to culture differences, for example? Because I guess you really got to know each other, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, between us. Yeah. I feel like it wasn't that big of a difference because firstly, Vlad's very adaptable. He's way more adaptable than I am. And he eats a lot of like Indian food. He doesn't have any problem with most of the things. He's
like, I had already gotten quite accustomed to, like, when we started living together, I was also already very familiar with India and how Indians are, how the Indian universe functions. I adapted a lot better and a lot easier to India than I did to Russia. A lot better. And not because, I liked India so much, that's why I adapted to it a lot better. It just happened. Somehow that the way of behaving, living, the energy somehow was a lot closer to how I am as a person.
And how Romanians are too.
Yeah.
Like how Romanians are is a little more closer to how like Indians are, because I do feel like they're more loud. They're more like, they have like this loud way of like living and being, and, just a big family and everyone going together and just, doing things, out loud. Just that's how I think even Indians are in a lot of aspects. So, I think that's what kind of connected with him, being very at home anywhere. So, yeah.
Like very relaxed. Okay?
Yeah.
Like people, like I feel like very like, okay, this is how we are, finish, and that like resonates very easily with me. And therefore, like, I didn't really feel that was a very big, like that much of a realization of new things when we started living together, because I had already gone through them a lot more detail than actually she and her family background is, because you're not very Indian. You're not very Indian, let's be frank.
It's not like I'm not very Indian. It's just that because I come from also like I was raised as a Catholic in India. So a lot of things that I am used to are like not very, very traditional. They are not very overly traditional or very religious. We have certain things that we do, of course, which are like, with regards to tradition, with regards to religion, but it's not staunch in my family. It's more relaxed. It's more, open to things. That's why. Yeah, so that's why even when, my mom met Vlad, like she's of course shy because she's, an Indian mom, but it wasn't a very big culture shock for her that, oh my God, now my daughter is wanting to like, be with a foreigner. She's wanting to be with, a white guy, like what's happening, because usually Indian parents are very, conservative about who they are associating their children with, how is the marriage happening, where is the family, kind of leaning towards. But with my family and my house, everyone was luckily really open-minded and very, okay with the person being of any race. But the only thing that they wanted was that the person should be good in like their heart. They should be a good human being, that they should be educated. They should, have some morals, values, and ideas. and that eventually they should not have any bad habits, which, kind of like make my life more difficult, and that we should just be happy doing whatever we do together. That's the main requirement from my, family side. So it wasn't that much pressure on him that now you be like this or do that, or, something.
Yeah, I feel that your mom was just very happy that you met someone who shared your passion,
Yes.
because that wouldn't have really happened with anyone else from India.
Yeah, no. So she was very happy that I found like a dancer as a husband, and I can actually dance with him and, now just do what I want to do, because she knows how passionate I was about this. And she was really happy. Like once she actually told Vlad that, because he was still, he was not single and anything. And my mom knew that, of course, because she also knew my friend. And then she said that, like, Vlad, do you have some other friend of yours, or do you have
Someone who's like you.
Someone who's like you, some other brother of yours, that, it's gonna also be able to, that's the kind of person we are looking for, Jhinuk. Because that, I don't know, something happened and the topic just arises of like, who I am going to be with. And then, she just said something very, just.
Yeah, something on the lines of, I really would want her to be with someone like you.
Yeah.
That's lovely. I mean, that's lovely, because I had a few intercultural couples here in the podcast already, and oftentimes, depending on as well, the culture and the religion plays a big role in how your partner is accepted into your family as well. And to me, it sounds like Vlad was just part of the family from day one, meeting your mom and just being very well integrated also in your circle of friends. And I love that. I love that for you, Vlad. It also sounds like, yeah, you made you feel like you made yourself feel at home in India. In a huge city like in Mumbai. I mean, that's very impressive. I love that.
He's more Indian than I am at this point of time, because he really enjoys things more about India than I do. He enjoys the loud traffic. He enjoys, like, also just walking around, just aimlessly, in different places, exploring different places. Eating Indian food also, I do feel like he has a higher spice tolerance level than I do. Like, I'm always complaining, oh my God, it's so spicy, it's so spicy. And he's like, it's good. He just eats it. So yeah, he's more Indian at this point of time than I am.
Yeah, but no, from our own personal background and from our family's background, there has not been any, not that big, I'm saying not big issues, any issues, I feel.
Yeah, no, there are no issues. It's just that for me, it was a little different to like kind of adapt to Romania, because when I went to Romania, it was a little different for me, because I realized that, like, oh my God, now I'm going to meet his parents. And that was a big shocking event for me.
Which I feel like also being in Russia kind of like, how to say, not warmed you up, but like prepared you a bit?
Yeah, but not really, because, it was still shocking for me, like to meet my, like husband's parents was like a shock for me. Like, okay, I'm finally arriving, because of course we spoke on the phone, we spoke over video, but then to see them in person and to live with them, I was like a little scared. I was pretty scared.
It's a big difference to meet the family in person rather than just online. We've been there as well. So we used to date on distance for a while, and then eventually we closed the distance. And my mom, for example, or my parents, they met my husband in real life only 1.5 weeks before we got married. And as I understand, you got introduced to Vlad's family after you got married, or how did that evolve?
Yeah. So we did kind of, want to be together. So we did like sign the papers, but we did not have we still haven't actually had our wedding. So we're still like looking forward to like actually having the wedding maybe next year, because, of all these things and events that kind of just accumulated, we just never thought it was the correct time for us to actually have a wedding and to, commit in that manner of like, okay, now we feel as human beings ready. But of course, because of, paperwork, because of this international relationship that we have, like we actually had to make sure that things are in order for us to be together. So we did kind of sign the papers, but we were married. But when I met Vlad's parents, even though I was married to him, I did feel that it was like I was still just meeting his parents as a prospect, like just as someone that they are kind of seeing that like, okay, this was just in my head, because it's just in my head that I looked at it like that, because from his end and his family, they already considered me like their daughter. Yeah, like I was already like a part of the family, and they already considered. But for me, I was like still like, oh my God, are they gonna like me?
Like
It's not gonna like
you
me.
like that even before we signed the papers.
Yeah. So for me, I was like still going in like treading, but how I am usually. I think I'm always thinking whether or not I will, be able to not upset anyone, not, do anything to like kind of make them feel like I'm still, a good enough prospect for their, son. And yeah, it took me a while. I had to make many calls to my mom back in home and tell her that I'm feeling really strange. I'm living in his house. It's really strange. So then she was like, it's okay. It's normal. That's what you will feel like, because that's how it usually happens. When you get married, that's how you feel, that you are going into someone else's house. And I was still pretty, childish in my approach, because like I said, like we weren't really ready that much to get married then, but we did have to kind of, plan things out. But now I do feel much more like, okay, in the next year, I'm going to be like in that mental zone that I can actually say that, okay, now I want to, have the wedding and prepare for that. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it quite cute, to be honest, that you called your mom and you were like, Mom, this is how I'm feeling. I'm so confused. Because I'm still doing this, to be honest. Like every time I'm overwhelmed, the first person I'm calling is my mom to calm me down. And yeah, it's quite interesting that you do the same every time. When it comes to emotions, that you just need perspective on things, and your mom just listening to you and be like, you're gonna be fine, just chill.
Yeah, you just need to hear them to just like, it's not even that, it's nothing. It's just that you need them to say something. You need them to just.
Yeah, they always know what to say. Definitely. I love that. I feel like also like we skipped a little part in between, because I'm not really sure what happened after Russia, after Moscow. And also, where did you actually sign the papers? Because in our case, it wasn't a big deal either. We got married in order to live together, because paperwork is just a pain, honestly.
Yeah.
So we had a little ceremony, told people like, hey, our friends and family, if you want to join, you're more than welcome to join, but no pressure. It's quite spontaneously. And we knew, like, obviously we love each other and we want to build a life together, but it's going to be a bit more difficult if we're not married. And I guess it was similar for you. So between Russia and going to Romania, what happened in between?
So basically, because we did sign the papers in Moscow, but after that, they opened the borders up. And, we had to take a very difficult and a long journey to go from Russia to Romania. And we went actually from Ukraine. So we had like literally, we packed all our things that we had and we left in a bus that took us from Moscow to a place in Ukraine. It's called Kiev, right? Yeah. So we went, oh, sorry, I didn't know. Because after that, we also had to go from Ukraine to Romania. And there we went also in a very difficult and a different manner. But we started moving because Ukraine opened its borders up for like tourists. And, we were like, okay, we need to kind of start moving to Romania. We had a lot of things and we already sent a lot of things via post to Romania, but we didn't know whether taking flights would be a good idea at this point of time.
I don't think there were any flights.
Or maybe they weren't. I'm not sure. And that's why we took the idea that, okay, let's go from, road to Ukraine. And that's how we went to Ukraine. And we waited over there for my visa from Romania. So, sorry, my Romanian visa, yeah. So that's when I waited for like my Romanian visa in Ukraine. And then finally, after a month of living in Ukraine, which was again really nice for us. That was one of the most memorable, time that we spent together because it was summer. Ukraine was really beautiful. We visited many places in Ukraine. We went to Odessa, we went to Kiev, we went to Lvov. And then finally we decided that I got my visa and we were like, okay, now it's time to head home. And then we went to Romania and we landed in, Vlad's hometown.
Were you living there for a while? Like, did you move there? Or was it just a stop in between?
Sorry?
Did you move to Romania or was it just a stop in between?
Yeah. It was basically kind of a long stop because actually we wanted to go to Hungary and I was waiting for my sports visa from Hungary because I wanted to train in Budapest because that's where Vlad's trainers were. And I was like, okay, they are really very famous. They are like world champions and I really like their dancing. And I was like, okay, I need to go there. And we waited for our sports visa. But of course, also we wanted to be with Vlad's family and, stay there. So it was like a long stay.
I think we stayed for like 4 months.
Yeah, 4 or 5 months, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And then you moved to Budapest together.
And then Budapest was our home for the next 2 years.
Not more than 2 years.
2.5 years, maybe. And
it's a beautiful city. We love Budapest a lot. We've been to Romania, by the way, for 6 weeks while traveling in the camper van. Yeah, and we got to know Romania pretty well, especially the people. And honestly, for me, because of the people and the landscape, Romania is one of my favorite countries in Europe, which I did not expect. Yeah, but that's just a little side note. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. But Budapest is also like very beautiful. So you made yourself home there for 2 years approximately.
Yeah.
No, it was really nice. Budapest was a good, way for us to be and live. It was nice.
You are in the US right now.
Yeah.
What brought you to the US exactly? So you both, because as I understand, like you're dance partners nowadays, you do competitions. It's your profession as well, right? And you're moving from one place to the other, from one country to the other. And how did you end up living in the US actually, after all?
Oh, you want to say?
Yeah, you can say.
So basically what we experienced so far by living in like almost, before going to US, almost 5 countries, is that it's very uncomfortable and very inconvenient for either one of us or both of us to be in a place where we feel that we are not equals. Either she's at a disadvantage, I'm at a disadvantage. We're both at a disadvantage in relation to the other people around us because we don't look the part, we don't speak the language, we don't behave in a certain way that people around us expect us to behave. So we really wanted for us and for our future family and children to be in a place where we feel that we can at least attempt to fit in as 2 equal members of society. Because like in India, of course, she's already at a disadvantage because like she's a minority, she's a woman, she's married to a foreigner, all very big minuses for the Indian community. I'm already a foreigner who's married in India, which is again a big minus. People don't really like it. People don't really accept it that well as we would have thought and we would have hoped people accept it in society, like the people around us. Family excluded. Like this is like not friends, family, they don't care. I'm saying like the other people who we interact with on the street and the whatever, wherever we go. Of course, Europe is also a disadvantage for her because she doesn't speak the language. She didn't really, was not able to communicate in Romanian that well. Russian, we kind of sort of learned, but again, we were not able to speak it to that extent that people actually took us seriously. Hungarian is also very difficult to learn, and most people who have been living in Budapest, who are expats for like 5-10 years, they still don't speak the language. Like they just rely on English, which is always a big handicap. So yeah, we wanted to be in a place where we're able to communicate freely, and also we don't stand out in a crowd by how we look, because like people here just look anyhow and everyhow. Like no one, like you'll find everyone from the whole spectrum walking on the street. No one is gonna stand out.
Yeah, we were just thinking of like another place where we both feel like at a little bit more comfortable with the language, and also like a little bit more, that no one is pressurized into, making sure that everything is good for the other person. Because usually it was like sometimes when he used to come to India, I'm like, and even now whenever he comes to India, it's always like the onus is on me and it's my responsibility that he is well, he is safe, everything is good, and when the same thing when I go to either Romania or Hungary, that his parents or he is always like, worried that I'm fine, everything that I want, I have, things like that. So we were just searching for a common ground, and then we received like a job offer. Actually, we received multiple job offers, and we received one a while ago, but we did not take it up at that point of time because we were not ready to still move from Budapest. But now that we were thinking that, okay, it's been 2 years, maybe, we need to like start thinking about some other place, because I was not able to really like learn Hungarian. I was not feeling that much comfortable, to be there fully. I couldn't express myself. And that's why we decided that, okay, maybe we should like move to, US and give it a shot and see what it is like to, take up this offer. And right now we both actually just have been offered like the O type visa, which is for like extraordinary, achievement in a field of art or sports. So we both have received that, and we can stay here and do our things and compete and teach and travel and things
That's
like
amazing. Congratulations on this. I think it's amazing what you've accomplished, and I think you can be very, 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 very proud of yourself that you came that far from India, trying to build a community there, teaching kids how to dance, Latin, ballroom.
Yeah, we still want to do that. I still have that dream very much so of wanting to still build. It's not like I have given up on that dream. It's just that, I'm trying to take it one step at a time. But yeah.
You do have, because that would be my next question before we slowly come to an end. You've been talking about, correct me if I misunderstood, but building a family as well. And then you still have the passion and the dream, Jhinuk, about, bringing that type of dancing to India and making it more popular there. What are your individual future goals, and what are the future goals you have together as a couple?
You wanna go first?
So honestly, my future goal, I would want to, because out of the two of us, I feel like she's the one who's more passionate about dancing. And I would honestly want to give myself the opportunity to explore other fields of art. Like I always had this kind of like dream-ish that somehow I will be able to not move, but like diverge also into acting. Like I'm very passionate about cinematography. So I always had this kind of like in the back of my head that no, one day I'll be able to like somehow incorporate this also into my life. But of course, like I still would want to be able to improve myself as an instructor, as a teacher. Hopefully one day I will also be able to become a judge, because that is usually the not end goal, but like the main goal for a lot of people, because you cannot not compete forever, right? So after a certain point as an athlete, you have to more or less retire. So after that point, I would want, like before that happens, I would want to already be able to practice like the art of dancing in a different form than just doing it as a dancer. So those would be my long-term goals, I feel.
And for you?
I think that for me, like my goals are definitely to be able to still access the knowledge, firstly, because this is what I was searching for since so long. Like I have been just on a hunt of like finding more and just learning more and growing more. So for me, still, I think it's the glass is only half full. Like that's what I think right now, and I still need to go and get that other 50% of like all the information that I would like to have and I feel is needed to be able to fully and wholly be able to do what I want to do, which is eventually also grow dance sport in India. So this is, what I think right now is my goal. And together, I do feel like we have our next goal, which is going to be our wedding, like to definitely have it finally next year. And
I should have been drinking a glass of water now and be like, what? Oh, yeah.
yeah, so to have next goal as a family and to have Vlad's parents come to visit India.
Yeah.
That's my next goal because my mom
Or like that's my next challenge and goal.
my mom has already visited Romania and Hungary, and now it's time for like Vlad's parents to come and see India. And yeah, that's the next goal to have the families together again, the wedding.
Yeah, just a side note, I've never been on a plane before, so
Oh, they will fine. How old are they, Mia?
a big headache for I feel more than them for us.
No, I think they will be fine. They will, but yeah.
But I love that your families were able to meet in person already. I mean, we're dating since 8 years and we didn't manage that yet, unfortunately. But we plan to do that next year. So that's still something on our bucket list all the way up. But
Yeah.
it just didn't happen yet. Actually, not
Yes.
next year, the year later, like 2026.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope that happens. I'm sure that they will enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's gonna be fun, especially for my parents when they visit Argentina. I think they're gonna love it here. Just so different to Germany and like the whole. I love Buenos Aires, and I'm sure they will love it too. It has a lot to offer, and people are just like so friendly, so accommodating. So yeah, you should visit soon as well. By the way, making some advertising here for Argentina.
I remember at one point, I think in Budapest, I don't know why I have this image in my head. I remember one time we were seeing something that what are the most convenient or something cities to live in? I remember it's
not-
some, no, I don't remember. And I don't know how at one point we were talking about Buenos Aires. I don't know how it came up or what was
I'm
the
very curious because
hierarchy.
there's actually the Argentinian tango, which is really famous. And, I want to definitely go and, dance in Argentina, the Argentinian tango, and just, have like a milonga and stuff like that. So, yeah, it is on our list for sure.
Yeah. It has a lot to offer culture-wise as well. And I think you'll feel very comfortable here. They're also very acceptance in general, like towards different cultures. It's very easygoing here. So you don't really have to, as an expat, to be honest. I mean, as an Argentinian, it's a different topic, to be honest. That's another story anyway, but you don't have to worry about a lot. And people here, they just accept you for who you are, and you'll be able to make your own group of friends here, to have your own little bubble here. So it's definitely very easygoing and very welcoming, especially if you have another cultural background. So they don't care. So you can do whatever, and they're just like, okay, go with the flow. To end this conversation, one last question for you guys, and I'm curious how you're gonna answer this. Your biggest advice when it comes to being in a relationship with someone from another culture?
I'll go first.
Yes.
Again, it's a very broad question. So depending on the two people and what their cultural background is. But what I would say as the main advice is to just try to not care about it. It's your life. It's your partner's life. It's your future together. And all this other, for lack of a better word, bullshit that people try to label other people with, that, oh, this one is from there, and oh, this one is from here, oh, this one is that, and this one is this, and blah blah blah, and stereotyping and all this stuff. It's not true. At the end of the day, like when you like strip a person down to, you know, their core, it's just a personality. It has nothing to do with where they're from or where they've grown up, or because like there are literally people who live across the street from you who you cannot get along with. In the same building as you have grown up, there are people who have grown up who you cannot get along with. So the place that someone is from has no impact in whether those two people will be compatible or not. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And the only reason why it does matter for a lot of people is because they choose for it to matter. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, my advice would just be to kind of, you know, adapt and understand firstly, you know, where it comes from, because that's challenging. Like Vlad said, that, you know, of course, ultimately it's about your core goals and about, you know, your values and what you are as a person. But there are other factors that influence, you know, you in your being and your existence so far, which is like your, you know, place of living or your culture or, you know, your food or stuff like that. And to understand how to be able to like just adapt or understand how they grew up as you know, children, and to kind of associate yourself a little bit more to the inner child that, you know, you have in yourself and that your partner also does have somewhere deep down, and to associate those two things more together and try to understand and adapt to, you know, where they are right now as human beings, and how their families are and what their thinking is and what their culture is something that is going to definitely help in, you know, intercultural, international relationship, because it does require some amount of, you know, understanding, like this mutual understanding of like, yes, we understand what you mean, if it means good, of course, you know. So like that's what I would say my advice would be.
Love that. Thank you so much. With this being said, I'm gonna say my goodbyes. I had a great time talking to you. I've learned so much, and I love how like you approach on different aspects of the life. I feel like you're very easygoing, which obviously makes it so much easier in life in general. And I'm very curious where the next few months are going to lead you. And hopefully, if it's okay for you, in case you should get married next year, maybe you can send either one or the other picture, because I'm very curious as well. And I hope you'd be able to make that work, that you have a big family reunion with friends. And I think that's just the best thing you can do, like bring all your favorite people together and just celebrate life.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Christina. Thank you for having us. It was really nice for us to be able to finally share and express even this part of our lives to the world, and to just like let them know who we are as human beings.
Thank you so much for watching and or for listening to today's podcast episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, I'm going to leave you all information in the side note of the video, as well as in the description of the podcast episode. And I really loved to chat with today's couple. It was so amazing to see how they're vibing, to really get to know them, to get to know their love story, even though if it's just a glimpse of the whole story. If you would like to tell your story as well, I'm going to link a form for you. Feel free to answer a few questions, and maybe someday we are going to sit together. If you like what I'm doing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for the YouTube channel. And in case you are listening to the podcast episode, give the podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening to. And yeah, see you next time. Take care. Bye.